diabetes, and hypo more frequently than hyper for thyroid, and diabetes, the risk of this one, type 1, is 3 times greater than in the general population. So, reproduction. Women who have Down syndrome, they can get pregnant. And,
Excuse us, class.
I'll edit that part out. Was it an
I think that was
emergency?
the timer that you're about done.
That was for 10
And-
minutes.
Oh, that was your timer. I thought that was like your children calling. Your husband.
I didn't know about the second point. Male are infertile with Down syndrome. Women can get pregnant, and men are not. And the problem is with the mechanism of spermatogenesis. They cannot produce sperm, so male. But they are same as us. Honestly, they have so much common than their peers. Their IQ in children is as wild as in typical developing children. Could it be a cure for this? Scientists think that there might be some cure for Down syndrome. They think the most kind of new, they pinpoint how Down syndrome leads. First of all, they need to know how it leads to. So, and then the cure is that they think that high potency is the antioxidants. That seems promising, and also the drugs that they use for Alzheimer's disease. Yes, it's very useful, but there's no really cure yet, like definite. Therapy, we have physical, we have speech, and occupational. Those 3 are big deal for Down syndrome children to help them improve. So a little, I didn't know, but March 21st is the World Down Syndrome Day. That's where everybody in the world celebrate that. And approximately 1 in 700 babies born in the United States each year are affected. Just like us, they get married, they do surfing, they play piano, they cooking, they're the same. Article Times.
Okay, so my article was just from a Down Syndrome Quarterly journal, and basically it just was talking about the effectiveness of intervention for children with Down syndrome. And it spoke again, just to reiterate what Anya already said about the Down syndrome deficits, generalizing it. Hypotonia, ligamentous laxity, decreased strength, and then the shorter arms and legs. So, and it says these factors are determined by genetics, and although some may be influenced by physical therapies, they cannot be fundamentally altered. So, we can kind of help to decrease some of the laxity, or increase ligamental strength and build strength to decrease the hypotonia, but we can't change the length of their arms and legs, really, stuff like that. So the goal of physical therapy is not to accelerate the rate of gross motor development, which kind of surprised me when I read that, because it was just something I thought, well, that would be what we would normally state as our goal. But instead, it says children with Down syndrome attempt to compensate for their hypotonia, ligamentous laxity, decreased strength in short arms and legs by developing compensatory movement patterns, which if allowed to persist, often develop into orthopedic and functional problems. So realistically, what our goal is to minimize those compensatory movements. And the opportunity for PT is to provide parents to use the arena of gross motor development to begin to understand how their child learns. Because oftentimes when a family gives birth to a baby with Down syndrome, they're kind of, as you could imagine, overwhelmed. How am I going to figure this out? How are we going to work together to give my child the best life possible? I mean, any parent thinks that. But when you're presented with something like Down syndrome, that is one of the major And then knowing how to facilitate their children's learning will be critical to their success in collaborating with their child throughout their life. And then the interventions should be concerned with the child's long-term functional outcomes, should seek to minimize the development patterns, the compensatory movement patterns, should be based on thorough understanding of the compensatory movement patterns that children develop with Down syndrome are prone to developing, should be strategically designed to proactively build strength in the appropriate muscle groups, and should focus on gait, posture, and exercises. So just as Anya was saying, the delay is apparent with children with Down syndromes. It's not a major, it's fairly minor, but they're just a little behind on our major milestones of development. So what we can help to do is foster their strength, their basically help build postural muscles and support, so that they can learn how to function and hopefully achieve these milestones in development. So the one main thing that I really looked at was physio ball exercises, and how the physio ball can really help to develop these children and to help increase their strength, most importantly, and balance, posture, build core and trunk. And then also, even though their vision can be slightly impaired, visual cueing has been proven to be really beneficial for these children. So initially, a lot of them might start as really little babies, and we'll show this in a minute, sitting on a physio ball, just kind of getting their posture, kind of creating that awareness with support, and then slowly support will be removed. So it's all about that positioning and handling that we're talking about in class right now. And then eventually you can put really bright objects or toys that they might intrigue the child to reach and grasp and develop those gross motor skills, but then kind of work toward the fine motor skills as well. So it's like that, the gross motor to the fine motor. So when you're working with a child with Down syndrome, this is kind of a lot of information, and I think it's really important when you're working with any patient, realistically, to be attentive to how they react when learning these motor skills. Some people are cautious, some people are risky, same thing with the children. Some are impulsive, some are really kind of nervous. So just, make sure that you're aware of, and especially as well as how the family is reacting to what you're doing with the child. If they're feeling nervous, things like that. Be strategic in providing support. Children with Down syndrome tend to become quickly dependent on support. So if you're handling the child and positioning them, really providing a lot of manual and tactile cues, then they may start to lean into you without really using their own strength and building on that. Skills we learn will be learned grossly at first and then refined, just like I was mentioning before. So they may need to initially learn to walk with a wide base. Their feet are externally rotated. I was learning this a lot in my clinicals in the skilled nursing facility. A lot of our mechanics and the things that we've learned and that's been hammered into our head, they totally fall out of the picture, because baseline for these children or for the patients in the skilled nursing facility may look a lot different than the typical baseline or the book answer baseline. So allowing these milestones to kind of develop through that individual child, the way that they kind of require their own learning and their own support guided, and not trying to refine it too quickly.